straight right, left body hook, left hook, and my opponent is down. What do you suppose was he thinking here? I don't think he was thinking. I think my man likely took his hand off the controller, and for that I do not blame him. He has no stamina, no head health, no body health. His read on the situation is that he was fucked. If he gets touched, he dies. He gets touched. Back the video up a few seconds, we have another decision. My opponent is in a head health event. His instinct is to shell up and slip his head. But I throw a body uppercut and a liver hook, an Aldo speciality, causing a body health event. He chose wrong, but it happens to all of us. More back to the source of his troubles. It's a lead front kick. But my opponent did not have a decision here because it comes as a counter after I pulled his roundhouse kick. So here's my real question. Why did I decide to do this? I suppose I should know. I am myself after all, and presumably I'm privy to my own thoughts. But you know very well that often you make decisions that are for reasons mysterious even to yourself. So let's figure this out. Was this a read, a prediction based on evidence, a reaction, a reflex based on immediate visual stimuli, or something a bit more fuzzy, call it an instinct? What are we thinking when we think about defending ourselves? We'll start with read, as it's on the top of the pie chart and it was first in the title. Actually, no. Rotate the pie. Let's start with reaction, and finish with it. I'm not sure why I bothered with this chart. Reaction is the only method of defense you need. See the strike? Slip the strike. See the kick? Check the kick. Combo incoming? Just slip, roll, and pull. Dead easy. If you ever get hit in this game, quite frankly, you just were not trying hard enough. I'm appalled by your lack of defensive responsibility. Except none of this is true, and I could never be appalled by you, dear viewer. You must understand that some strikes can be reacted to, but many strikes cannot, and no one can make all their defensive responses purely on reflexes. But wait, you may say. I've slipped my share of jabs, had my own slipped in turn. If the jab's reactable, everything's reactable. So, is it? Let's play count the frames, and we'll see. Now, I counted 15 frames between the initial startup and the full extension of the jab in this instance. 15 divided by 60 is a quarter of a second, or 250 milliseconds. So is that reactable? According to a literature review by Robert Kosinski from Clemson University, typical reaction time for simple reactions is around 200 milliseconds. 200 to 300 is pretty typical from most other sources I've read. Let's test mine real quick with an online test of only slightly dubious legitimacy. 226 milliseconds. Unremarkable, right around average. So in theory, most people, including myself, can slip the jab. Except, you can't slip at the very end. Timing matters on head movement. If your head's not offline by the time the punch gets to your skull, you haven't done yourself much good. I would want to slip a little earlier, around the 12th frame, or 200 milliseconds. I no longer make the cutoff, and you probably don't either. But maybe you're faster than I am. Let's assume you've got ideal reaction time. You're young, you're all jacked up on Mountain Dew, your reaction time is 100 milliseconds, the lower limit for what's humanly possible, and pretty unrealistic. You slip it easy, right? Well, we haven't accounted for latency yet. Before you can react to the jab in an online match, it has to travel from our opponent's console, through a series of internet tubes, through our Ethernet cable, please don't use Wi-Fi, into our console and our TV/monitor. Let's say 50 milliseconds is a reasonable number for internet lag. It'll often be higher than that. We add that to our 100 millisecond reaction time, we're at 150. But we also have to account for input lag from the controller. Now this varies widely by game. I can't find a value for UFC 5, but typically it's between 30 and 100 milliseconds. Let's just say 50 again to keep it simple. Add that to 150, we're at 200 milliseconds for our effective reaction time. Maybe we can barely get to that jab. But this assumes we're always starting perfectly on the first frame. It's a big assumption. Now you tell me when you're sure the jab has started. Here? How about here? Okay, by now we're certain that the jab has started, right? Well, you shouldn't be, because this is a lead hook. You just got yourself pasted. That's shameful. We've been treating this like a simple reaction, where you're just going as soon as you see movement. But evading strikes is not a simple reaction. It's a recognition reaction, We're choosing the right evasion from multiple options based on the strike we see. For a recognition reaction, a more typical time is around 400 milliseconds. It's like this. Here's a slower strike, a forward-moving straight. Now this feels quite easy to react to in practice mode. I've got plenty of margin to slip my head offline as soon as I see the punch coming. But if I mix it up between straights and rear hooks, now it's much more difficult. I need to slip promptly for the straight, but I need to wait a little longer to see what the punch is if I want to avoid the hook properly. I've got time to react, but not time to get it right. The last obstacle to successful reactions is practice. You see, simply having enough time to react doesn't mean that you will. It needs to be a rehearsed reaction. Take, for example, the 720 spinning hook kick. Now, this bad boy is the slowest strike in the game. It takes over a full second to land. Now, I have a confession. Move in close and listen, but keep it to yourself. I don't always react correctly when this kick is thrown at me. Don't get the wrong idea. I've never been finished by it, or knocked down, or even hit clean. But I don't always duck and counter, even though I have plenty of time. That's because I rarely ever see it. I've had this thing thrown at me like 3 times out of countless matches, and every time my thought process is something like this. Spin kick coming. Wait a minute, this looks a little different. This has taken a while, actually. What the hell is he throwing? Is this a tornado kick? No, it's too slow for that. It's a 720. Shit, what's the timing for this thing? Oh, screw it, I'm just gonna circle away and block. If you never practice avoiding a strike, it doesn't matter how quick your response time is. You can practice in matches, but strike recording in practice mode is the more convenient option. So what can and can't you react to? I'm not going to do a breakdown for every strike for every fighter. That would be tedious. Instead, I'll summarize roughly where I think defensive reactions work and where they don't. For planted jabs and straights, even simple reactions will be too slow, generally speaking. If you're not already blocking, you're getting hit. For other planted punches, simple reactions work, but for correct head movement, I think it's impractical, except possibly for overhands. For forward-moving strikes, simple reactions will certainly work, and evasion may be possible with the slower punches, uppercuts, rear hooks. Kicks are generally reactable, especially if they're thrown while moving forward. This is a big reason why boxing is way more popular than kicking in UFC 5. So, to return to our original question, did I pull this kick on reaction? It's certainly a reactable strike, but no. My practice reaction to head kicks isn't to pull them, it's to duck. Ducking is safer than pulling when it comes to head kicks in this game. It basically always works, while pulling can work at the right distance, but if you're a little too close, you get walloped. If you cannot depend upon your eyes, perhaps then your brain may help you. A read, put simply, is a prediction. Not necessarily always defensive, they're about offense just as often, if not more, but for our purposes we'll say that a read is specific. Not that our opponent tends to throw a lot of hooks, rather they will throw a hook at this specific moment in time. To make a read, we need a trigger, an event that occurs just before the predicted strike. It could be one of our opponent's strikes. If they consistently throw left hook straight, then left hook is the trigger. Straight is the predicted strike we're looking to avoid and counter. It could be one of our strikes. Here I noticed that my opponent would throw out an elbow every time I threw any kind of combo. So I throw a combo and pull my head back immediately. That's an easy read, no reflexes required. It could be distance. If we maintain a long distance, then we step in, our opponent throws a jab. The step in is the trigger. This, by the way, is something like the process that usually leads to your jab being slipped. You throw it predictably, it gets read by your opponent based on the distance. If we have a good read on our opponent, the reaction time doesn't matter. We're ready to go before the strike even hits us. Furthermore, reads and reactions have a symbiotic effect upon one another. If you're looking for a strike, you'll have an easier time reacting to it. Reads are undeniably useful, but the best thing about them may be the way they make you feel, a certain sense of smug satisfaction. My most popular short videos are all me explaining my thought process for making a read. And in these videos, invariably, I will get comments referencing Sherlock Holmes. Which is odd. Does anyone remember if in The Hound of the Baskervilles, Holmes and Watson break out a PlayStation? Of course, they're referencing the 2009 Holmes movie, which is also odd. Why bring up a mildly entertaining 15-year-old movie? Is it because I have the charisma of a young middle-aged Robert Downey Jr.? Yes. But there's another reason. The fight scenes are rather memorable, in which Holmes plans every move that will happen before the fight even starts.
Then block his blind jab. Nice vocal cords. Stop screaming. Counter with cross to left cheek. Finally, dragging left leg.
Fistfights are chaotic affairs, and they're typically won by the rougher, tougher fellow. But video games don't test toughness, but they can test your memory, and feeling smarter than your opponent is sublime. I am the genius karate detective with a manageable stimulant habit. You are the clumsy hulking oaf who probably huffs ether from a rag. But this approach has a problem. I am not Sherlock Holmes or Robert Downey Jr., and I highly doubt you are either. I cannot deduce someone's propensity for looping their right hand or double jabbing by looking at the callus on the ridge of their palm, especially because all the guys I fight look exactly like Ilya Tapuria or Alex Pereira. We require evidence to make reads. Evidence requires repetition. Repetition requires time. Time our opponent uses to beat the hell out of us. Maybe you're different. You don't need much time. Okay, your opponent throws a 1-2, possible read. Throw it again, confirmed read. They step into range, throw another jab, you slip your head to counter the 2, except it's a roundhouse. They weren't throwing 1-2s to throw 1-2s. The 1-2 is the setup for the high kick. They have a brain just like you. They read you as you read them. 100% certainty isn't possible, but you need time to see the pattern. Okay, caveat. In some cases, you can read your opponent with zero evidence. You're facing a fighter with a spinning back kick. They miss a lead body roundhouse. If you're experienced, you know there's a 99% chance they're following up with the back kick. But it's rarely this easy. What do we do before we have a read? Hug the high guard and circle away, hoping they only throw reactable strikes. Some people do just that. The principle of staying cautious and minimizing actions until we have a read on our opponent is smart. But the people who play this game are for the most part insanely aggressive. You will be flinched fast if you just hold R2. Now I'm a nice guy, I don't do that to you, but I will start feigning you and chopping down your calf while you're waiting, which will also make it hard for you to come back. Also, it's just taxing mentally to try and record every strike and feint your opponent throws. I am a certified non-genius. I'm like you, I play the game for fun. I am not doing a complex series of equations in my head every time I see your pinky toe twitch. Reads are important, but they only apply to a fraction of your defensive actions. Going back to the pulled head kick from the start, this also is not a read. I know that because it was the first head kick I saw, and also because of the counter. What sort of dunderpate counters a missed head kick with a lead front kick? If I had predicted this kick, I would have given him the standard counter hook. So we've established that you cannot rely on your eyes, nor can you depend on your brain. What part of you is left? Your soul? Heart? No, it's still the brain, but a lazier, dumber part of your brain. Instinctive defensive actions are not perfect reactions to a strike itself, nor are they rational predictions. We're talking habits, bad or otherwise. It's like this. Imagine you're just starting the game. You have only the faintest idea of what mixed martial arts are. You walk up to your opponent, you press the block button, and they whip the ever-loving shit out of you. So you can't do that. You start moving the right stick to bobble your head to and fro. They kick and punch the ever-loving shit out of your body. Can't do that either. You bobble your head, but you also block low. Now this works a little better, until a hook clips you, causing instant death. You also cannot do that. Now if you keep messing around, you may eventually find that if you slip your head offline at a certain distance while firing a hook, that you occasionally get a big counter. This feels good. It has become a habit, an instinct. If you get enough good results from this, you'll find that it occurs automatically, without thinking. Effectively, you have been programmed by the game, or the meta, more accurately. It's not a read, but it's a little like a read. You're feeling, not thinking. It's not a reaction, but it's a little like a reaction. Reacting to motion, not the precise strike itself. You're turning a recognition reaction into a simple reaction. Really, what it is guessing. Guessing the foundation of your defense? You betcha. Educated guessing. Semi-educated. Instinctive head movement is about focusing on the rhythm of the strikes more than minute details like what actual punch is coming at me. Is it a hook, uppercut, elbow? Not my concern. But is taking a 50-50 on each punch worth it when the wrong evasion gets you hit extra hard? Well, for starters, even if you guess randomly, your chances of avoiding a strike are better than 50-50. There are 3 types of head movement in the game: slips, ducks, and pulls. For any given strike, 2 out of those 3 will evade it. A straight can be slipped or ducked, a hook, ducked or pulled, an uppercut, pulled or slipped. So if you guess right, you should be right 2/3 of the time. But we can do better, because the guard is manipulated by punches in predictable ways. The typical combo follows certain patterns. Linear strikes overcommit the guard to the front, round strikes to the side. It's not efficient to break through the guard with all straights or all hooks. So most block breakers tend to favor 2 to 3 straights and a round, or they mix it up between round, straight, round, straight. If you keep this in mind, you will greatly increase your success rate if your rhythm is right. But we can still do better. You can also form habits based on certain specific rules. Here's a rule I often follow. After my opponent throws a lead hook, I will slip away from their follow-up rear hand. Slipping in this manner evades straights and uppercuts, and a right hook hits us but not very hard as we're rolling with the punch. So we're either right or only slightly wrong. Slightly wrong matters quite a bit, but we can still do a tiny bit better. Distance matters greatly. Your opponent will naturally throw more short punches in close and more long straights at the end of boxing range. We can further shade our decision-making based on the distance. You may also find that at certain distances, the slip avoids the straight and barely gets touched by the hook. And of course, at the very end of boxing range, a pull will beat almost everything. But despite all these adjustments to our instincts, you will still get hit hard on occasion. And that's okay. Here's the deal. Damage is not very high in UFC 5. Early in a fight, you are never at risk of getting flatlined by any particular strike. The real danger is getting overwhelmed by extended volleys. Slipping into a hook doesn't feel good, but far worse is getting chipped down to nothing as you hold the high guard and circle. Less experienced players don't grasp how powerful it is to force the occasional missed punch. A whiffed punch kills their rhythm, drains their stamina, and preserves your block meter, and gets you back on tempo. Using safe head movement helps as well. Minor slips with the guard up. This lessens your counter potential, but it greatly reduces your risk. Are there downsides to defensive instincts? Of course there are. There are downsides to everything. The primary downside is that your defensive instincts provide your opponent with offensive reads. I advance with JDM, throw a lead uppercut into a straight, my opponent slips it and counters me pretty good. This I believe to be an instinct. It's the first lead upper I threw, and I doubt he's reacting to a straight. A short while later, he slips my jab. He's slip happy. I decide to make an early read. After switching from southpaw back to orthodox, to give him the same look he saw before, I fire lead upper into roundhouse and drop it. A reactable strike he leans right into because his instincts took him out of position. Every instinctive move takes some strikes away from your opponent while presenting them with big openings. If you believe they're smart enough to read you, you need an additional meta instinct, a rule that says, try not to repeat the same action twice in a row. Returning at last to the sequence that set me off on this investigation, I think you know now what the answer is. Unless, is there a secret 4th category? Might we zoom out from our pie chart to reveal even more infographic? No, but stay on your toes. I reserve the right to do that in the future. This is an instinct. Here's how it works. Merab advances and throws a 1-2, at which point my instinct is to pull. It's a distance thing. At this range, a pull beats any punch, and I haven't had my legs or body beaten up yet, so I'm not worried about low kicks. To be honest, this is a little sloppy on my part, because I didn't check to see if it was a kick or a punch coming. I wasn't really thinking. That's instinct, baby. The pull barely clears the kick, and now I'm slightly confused. I wasn't expecting a kick here, and I'm not sure if I'm in range for a punch. Thinking about whether I should move forward to punch, I just froze for half a second. As his leg comes down, I figure, screw it. Just fire off a front kick. Why the hell not? Turns out that works well enough as a counter here. Not particularly calculated gameplay. It just happens to work out. I should clarify, these are not 3 distinct schools of defensive thought. These are 3 components of everyone's defense. Even if you don't realize it, you're always using some of each of these, and often they blend together. Take this sequence. I'm Jose Aldo. who I love. He is Ilya, who's the source of all wickedness on this earth. I start chipping down his guard, straight, lead upper, little pause, jab, rear hook. He pulls the hook. Now this could be a read, could be a reaction, but it also might just be an instinct. I was setting him up with linear shots, he may have just felt the hook coming. He returns a counter, but I pull the pull and counter with my own uppercut. Now this could be a reaction or an instinct. I am reacting, but not to the specific punch. I react to his pull. By my definition, this may technically be an instinct. It's a bit of both. Short time later, the same thing plays out, but instead of throwing the uppercut to my head, he hits the body. That's a read, for sure. He wanted to punish me for pulling his pull counter. If it landed a little cleaner, it might have rocked my body. His read punishes my instinct. But I can make reads too. He wants to pull my right hand after a jab, I throw jab, body uppercut, and rock him. The follow-up drops him. Round 2, I block a kick and I go for a body shot, but it's a fake. I backstep immediately. Now, was this a read? Not really. A backstep is safer against body counters than a pull is, but it still gets hit. It's definitely not a reaction. It's instinctual. I felt that he would likely counter with something here, because he's worried about his body, and a backstep is just a different look from a pull. Let's see how it works out. Look, the game has its issues, but when you can light up to Puria like this, you do feel like there's still some good left in the world. If you're ever in doubt as to why you did something, it was probably instinct. Most actions in the game, in my view only, are instincts. Here's my question to you. Does that bother you? Because it kinda bothers me. My favorite fighter to use is Jose Aldo, for his stats, his weapons, and his general Aldo-ness. When I use him, I try to emulate Aldo, the great neutralizer. Sterling speed, incredible reflexes. But I don't have those good reflexes, and none of you playing this game has prime Aldo reflexes, and even if you did, you still couldn't react to it all. Reads and reactions feel right to me, like being right, like I know what I'm doing. One's deliberate, the other's impulsive, but both are conscious. I can justify every read and reaction to myself. I want so badly to understand all the things I do, in this game and everywhere else. But instincts, though unconscious, are not illegitimate. They're still decisions, taking some strikes away, giving some back. But the truth here doesn't satisfy me. To say, it's mostly game sense. Play and get good. Reads and reactions are not less important, just less common. In my view, I would say about a third of the time it's read and react, and the remaining portion instinct. Roughly the ratio of the land to the sea. But the land is not less important than the sea for being a smaller portion of the globe, nor is the sea less beautiful than the land for being inscrutable. Consider the subtleness of the sea, how its most dreaded creatures glide underwater, unapparent for the most part, and treacherously hidden beneath the loveliest tints of azure. Consider also the devilish brilliance and beauty of many of its most remorseless tribes, as the dainty embellished shape of many species of sharks. Consider once more the universal cannibalism of the sea, all whose creatures prey upon each other, carrying on eternal war since the world began. Consider all this, and then turn to this green, gentle, and most docile earth. Consider them both, the sea and the land, and do you not find a strange analogy to something in yourself? For as this appalling ocean surrounds the verdant land, so in the soul of man there lies one insular Tahiti, full of peace and joy, but encompassed by all the horrors of the half-known life. God keep thee. Push not off from that isle. Thou canst never return.